Hi, Sagittarius. We're doing your reading under the full moon. That's what it is. It's just too close. That's all. It's like, what is going on? I'm like, oh, just way too close. I wanted to do your reading under the full moon, your full moon, make it a little more special for you guys. Gemini season reading, June 2024 reading. And there's been a lot, so I feel like sometimes the nighttime kind of just shifts perspective sometimes, and most Sagittarius placements do love the nighttime at some point in their life. They like really crave, you know, and usually it's when it gets hotter out if you live in a climate, a location geographically that goes through the phases. First card out. Well, bottom of the deck. We're gonna put that one back in the shuffle, but Ace of Cups right at the beginning. So yeah, that's my olive oil. Under the light. All hail. I mean, it is an amazing oil, and we have the Ace of Cups out. An overfloweth of what, right? Abundance. What you've been waiting for. Jupiter is coming across from you. So interestingly enough, a theme, and one of the few themes that so far that I've spotted, and usually it's only like one major one, is that with the good comes the bad. With all the positive that comes with this Ace of Cups moment, month, time in your life that you are experiencing, there's also the responsibility, the ability to feel into it, the ability to direct it, the ability to keep it going, right? It's how do we keep this going? And if your brain's already going there, what I would have to say is, okay, we're just gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Oh, yeah, we are. Look at the bottom, but not like at the top of the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You know, don't take it like that. It's the first time I thought of it like that too. Like, what is going on with your energy? Let's tell you what's going on. So if you're like wondering, why am I not feeling this? Like, what are you talking about? The Ace of Cups. What came to me as I was starting to feel into your space is that, and your energy, as we say, is that it's not going to feel like it right now. Venus just moved in to Gemini. The moon is in Sagittarius full, and Jupiter will move into Gemini on the 25th. So we have some transits happening, and it's just when even some of the best things can happen to us in the moment, it's amazing. And you're one of the signs that can feel this. There's a few other. When you move forward from that day, like maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's a celebration, maybe you're experiencing that, and as good as it is, a few days later, you're almost like nostalgic for how good it was. Right? So maybe you're thinking about a time in your life when you remembered how good it was. And then what I want you to notice is what's happened since then. What is it that doesn't make it as good? Is it the changes externally that don't like really match up internally? Are you satisfied, happy? Do you enjoy what you do? What do you notice about your day-to-day life? The devil is Capricorn, but it's also Saturn. And it seems as though a day-to-day routine feels like a little bit too much to ask for sometimes. But I was listening to this random podcast, and it was like this one woman who's older than me, like a little bit older, probably in her 40s, and then there was two younger women that were younger than me in their 20s. And one of them is like super famous, whatever, like, or well known, I should say. And then the two younger ones are like coming up in the podcast world, I guess. And they were talking about how boy crazy they are. Now I was like, why does this relate? And then I was like, oh, that's what it was. And I don't mean that, no shade. So, and they're like, you know, like, what do I do if I'm not boy crazy? And I'm just like, you know, there's like a whole side of TikTok and YouTube and everything that's like taking care of yourself. Cause you know, they look great. Like they look healthy and well and stuff, but there's always, like, not saying that there's always something to improve upon. Like, you have to consistently improve upon yourself. But the valuable thing about someone who is consistent with their internal, external, outer appearance, how, like, putting in that energy into themselves feels. Think of a Taurus maybe in your life. Think of what you experienced in Taurus, this past Taurus season, with all the signs moving through, right? Maybe even just give yourself a minute to, like, reflect on the month. Is when we say pain is beauty, and we're going to think about this together because this is something I'm just connecting now, is sometimes it can be painful to get in a helpful habit that makes you feel good. Because that's what beauty is to me. It's becoming like what makes me feel good. What do I notice what do I feel when I look at something? Like, the more I'm attracted to something specific or a certain style or design, or how my taste changes, which is very Taurian as well. But you guys have a very expansive taste. You know, especially if you're Sag rising, you've probably changed your taste over and over again, whether or not it's in the same like palette or tone. You may have had that experience. And what's happening right now is, if you take that a little bit into your immediate home life, what you believe, the circumstances, right? Like the traditions you were raised upon, like what traditions you want, or what lifelong values you want to continue to create, and how that applies to your day-to-day life. Pluto is also coming in and helping in any way it can. Like, we have a lot of major arcanas already, and there's still more cards to go. And if I have to get up for a second, it's because one of my cats is being curious. So she gets kind of upset when I don't go to bed at the same time, so she'll wait for me and whatever. So, I mean, maybe you need to hear that. So, Pluto, just like a wake-up call, a huge wake-up call is happening with you. And now I get why we needed to do this at night, but it's about what you want, right? Like, we can break that down, like tradition. I don't know about that. Like, do you want tradition? Like, the devil came out too. Like, it's okay to want and have certain values. Like, it's okay to have a certain structure and then figure it out in between, right? Like, to know where you stand with someone about marriage. If there's someone in your life, you know, that, again, if it doesn't feel like it right now, especially if you are going through heartbreak or going through something like really changing a deep pattern. You playing the piano? Yeah? You gonna sit there? Okay. Okay. So, before I even show these cards, what we're also seeing here now is pain is beauty is also like detoxifying from a habit, like a habit that you consider ugly or disgusting, or synonym after synonym, that, you know, something that doesn't work for you, but you have it, but now you're aware, and now you're like, this is going to be painful. Or if you wanted to change up something in your life that you'll need discipline for, something is, you know, really cosmically knocking on your door. You realize something huge. And I know it may feel heavy, but it's going to be one of the most liberating moments. This Sag full moon, another reason why is because it is really a prominent one, which is why I wanted to sit with you under this, because something that I learned was that, and it really connects, is that if there's something that you've been wanting to do, but you feel like maybe you've procrastinated or you're just not doing it and you just find yourself wanting to do it, this is the perfect time. And the Jupiter shift is very prominent. There's a lot shifting. And I think you'll realize more and more how, especially if it's a person or a job that just never added up and they try to come back in the picture, it's very clear. Like, there's no compromise. It seems like you're very dead set on that this situation or this person can no longer exist, especially if your ideas on your future or what your stability is, like if there's no connection or like mutual value, because maybe up until this point you may have not wanted to admit that that's important, but you're changing in a way that it feels very important, and it doesn't feel like there's a reciprocity perhaps. And you may also be really tired of this person. It looks like, though, of course, if we take a look at it at this perspective of, there's the Hierophant, Judgment. I keep going back to them because it's very spiritual. You're being like reminded of how strong you are, how capable you are, how it takes strength. Within strength is faith and trust, right? The integrity. There's multitude of layers of what strength is, right? There's a continuous need to build, and your strength is now in being receptive to and listening for the next move, and for this insight and for this connection, because you'll feel it deep within your body, and it seems like there's something you might need to get off your chest. You may really, and you may have really something to say. Backwards. Injustice. Very Venusian cards. This Ace of Pentacles comes from the ability for you to be really open to this situation, to how you are taking accountability, maybe standing up for yourself, maybe feeling like you say or do something that feels maybe like an out-of-body experience even. That's very specific for some of you. And we have the Temperance and the Ace of Wands, just a preface at the bottom. So like 3 aces is like you're clearing up a lot right now. That's why it's like heavily themed, right? Really dense section, but it's not all over the place. Like it's an actual like legit story being told. What you can also say is that for some of you, in the way of some of abundance, in the way of some of this is clearing up a lot of emotional healing that attributes to your physical body and what you're capable of handling due to what you can actually handle emotionally, physically, your nervous system. But there's something really important about clearing up the throat. The head and the body are connected by the throat, and also then we have the ankles, which I was reminded of by a dear friend, that it's the same. The neck and the ankles are the connection from you to the ground and you to the ether. So this experience, although maybe maddening, maybe not so great for your mental health at times, that has called upon patterns in which maybe you're healing from. And even more so, your psyche and your connection to your throat, to the way things transform. You may find your connection to yourself or your higher power. You may find you have just a very spiritual month. And you're just in it. And I think that's better than having there's no distractions really out here. The distraction has either been a person, it's been a vice, been your sexuality. It's just something that you can control in your life, something you'll know, will come to your mind. Something that's hard, right, to not be with during a time of need or sorrow, where you're not feeling maybe like your best self, but you're being exposed to something really important, because what's flowing in is also help clearing this up. The more you release, the more you become yourself, the more you remember who you are. And it just becomes very clear that this person or the situation, again, was never going to add up. It was never, unfortunately, going to be what you needed, especially if they're giving you an ultimatum and it costs you your integrity, your independence, right? You now see and are clear, and it's been very obvious to you that maybe you're a little far from healing it, but you see maybe the codependency in you and your ability to remain in the cycle. However, you now realize it's no good for you. You can see it very clearly. And you have this very powerful moment with all of these wands here to alchemize this time and really sit with what it is that we're talking about, right? What do you notice? What questions would you have for me, right? What is coming up for you? And then maybe answer them, right? Write them down and answer them for yourself. Let your intuition guide you, because something is clearly breaking through, because the Tower also has lightning and it's the psyche, and thunder is something big is changing for you. Also, being really smart with your money right now is important and can help your emotions feel through this. Choosing yourself will also always, if someone's asking you to choose yourself, always think about that. And if you feel that way, right? Think about that, take a beat, take a second, notice how that feels, because on the other side is something much more than or better than what you have known. You may have been able to dream about it, of course, but something's coming together. Through this experience, you see and feel yourself clear. You may even feel like you've cleared and if you have been clearing big debt, you'll start to feel like you're either making progress, or you've made a shit ton of progress, or you're closing it out. It could be any of that, because all of it is a goal, right? So there's something clearing out which allows for an idea. So when you clear out space in one way, something else is then perhaps brought through. You also have to notice and pay attention and be aware. But Jupiter wants you to expand your mind. You are maybe feeling more like yourself by the end of the month, more invigorated, more ready, and understanding of where you're at in your mental, physical, spiritual self. And you realize that it all comes together in your mind, right? Maybe you have a moment where it all comes together, and you see very clearly what next step to take, or you see your goal clearly, which is what you're good at, is seeing the goal. and then asking maybe for the steps to then present themselves. Oop. Hold on 1 second. I had a feeling something weird was gonna happen with the light, because it wouldn't be a full moon if it wasn't. Okay. We're back. Yeah. So, a little lower. Okay. Now it's much better. I'm very sensitive to light, if you couldn't tell. If you just come here, I'm very sensitive to light. Yeah, so you're gonna feel very self-empowered too, going through all of this and addressing a lot. It's like even calling out yourself for what, this is also about, don't get me wrong, like this is a lot about accountability. Like taking action on stuff is accountability. See, I didn't exactly address it, because you're going to voice these things by not only voicing, but you're going to notice how much weight that lifts off you by just letting it out, right? Then all this weight, all this emotion lifts off, and it's not unlike you to let it out, but it depends on the emotion, right? This is going to be most likely an emotion that feels more difficult perhaps for you, and you realize that that is a big part of what has been maybe a lesson, what's been keeping you undecided for the past maybe even 2 years. Oh, here we go again. Silly. It's okay, we're almost done. Okay. This is a beautiful reading. I think we should just end it. I think the light is telling us to end it. Sorry, Sag, stay with me. We're gonna do this. Look, it's okay. We're gonna get there. Thank you for staying and being here. Light, in and out of light, needing to sit in the dark, maybe. Notice your darkness. Realize how when we suppress our darkness in one way, it does show up somewhere else, subconsciously, consciously. We think we have control. What is it like to be out of control? What if it was okay and safe? Maybe you find that a mentor for yourself even. Maybe that's something you want to look into. Something for especially your emotional health, for sure. The power behind addressing all of this and allowing yourself to be seen by yourself in this way, or even just anyone, is strong, courageous, and brave. And you also embody that, and you may even wonder at the end of the month, how did that get misplaced? It didn't. It's here and showing up when you need it. Just remember that when you're at that crossroad, because there will be a fork. There will be a moment where you have to choose yourself. And what that looks like may feel like a loss. But feel through that loss. Maybe sit with it for a moment and see what you see on the other side. Be fair to yourself. Notice how that shifts some other things around you, especially in other places where your life does not feel in harmony. I didn't want to say balance. Justice. You also may hold out a little, because you'll see why you did what you did. you know, you'll do things intuitively. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, but you did, and you needed to, and it'll come. Just be patient with yourself and everyone, if you can. Do your best. All right, we're gonna get into the second part. Thank you for being here. Under the full moon, all information to work with me one-on-one is below. The calendar is updated. I only do it for about a month out. You can also email me directly as well, and all payment options are also below. If not, you can email me that right now. That's just the way it's set up. And Patreon is available as well. You can purchase a reading on there as well, and I can always send it to you, and you always have access. All right. Thanks for being here. I'm glad we did this in a sensual way. It's important for you to feel safe in that way as well. You may find that you're more affectionate, or affection is different as well. All right. Take care, Sag. See you in the second part, and we'll see you next month.